Chen said that she's also forced to work overtime on a regular basis. It's so boring, I can't bear it anymore. Every day is like I get off from work and I go to bed. I get up in the morning and I go to work. It's my daily routine and I almost feel like an animal, said Ms. Chen, who aspires to become a biologist.
This is from Gina Cano, a former worker at Huggard, a subcontracted plant and organizer for Central General Tribamatitis Union Federation in Honduras. I used to work at Huggard factory in Honduras. Huggard made garments for major brands like Nike and Adidas, and in this factory we were subject to many violations toward rights as workers. The pay was very low and production demands very high. The factory actually contracted guards to look over us as we went to the bathroom, went to get water, and while we would eat. When we didn't finish the production for that day, they would lock the doors and not let us leave. The factory would take a chunk out of our paycheck every week for health insurance, but they never provided us with any health benefits. They had actually come to an agreement in which they were to keep a medic inside the plant. We had no idea the factory wasn't paying for any of our benefits until one day a coworker collapsed inside the factory. When the medic didn't know what to do, we took her to the hospital, but they refused to attend to her, telling us that our employer hadn't been paying for any of our health insurance. Because of these violations and many others, we decided to organize into a union. One morning at 7:30 a.m. when we arrived at the factory to work, we found that the factory had closed down. We asked the owner why he had shut down the factory, and he told us it was because of the recession in the U.S. We knew this wasn't true. The entire time we were organizing, the factory manager, who was also the owner of the factory, told us that he preferred to close down the factory rather than recognize the union. From the day the factory opened 13 years earlier to the day it closed, we had been producing for the brand Nike. So we went to Nike to ask for help. We were even a certified Nike plant listed on their webpage, and had received yearly audits from their staff, but the entire time Nike refused to take any responsibility for us, telling us that we weren't their workers. We called on the Fair Labor Association, whose investigator told us they were not responsible for us, and scolded us for harassing Nike.
Could I have you guys pause for just a second?
This is from Boozy, another worker from PT Keyzone, who's 29 years old and is a machine operator. As far as I know, at Keyzone, the production was all Nike, Reebok, Dallas Cowboys, others. Gap was there at one point, lots of brands. To this point, I haven't found work. My wife works, but doesn't even get minimum wage. Our economic situation since Keyzone closed has been really bad. If you want to say that we're like beggars, yes, you could say that. It's hard to pay for the kids' school tuition. Some we had already paid. The little one, we paid 3 months. The older one, we paid 8 months. The little one, it's $35 per month. The older, it's $30 per month. One is being held back because we haven't paid. The products that we made are being used and selling well in the international market, in America and other countries outside Indonesia. We feel sad. Why? Because the Keyzone workers were left bankrupt. The owner disappeared, and we see that the products we made, the people who made them now, aren't working and are abandoned. We can't find food, drink. If we can eat even once a day, we say thank you to God. This should be embarrassing for big companies like Nike, Adidas, Dallas Cowboys, Reebok, Gap, whose products are selling well, are worn by everyone, but aren't taking care of the needs of the workers who made their products. They should pay attention to us too, to our fates. We were of service. We worked for them. They should not ignore us.
The first group talked to 2 workers from the F&B factory that were affiliated with the Garment Workers Union within La Casa Sindical. Rosa Marlen and Rosa Evangelina told their testimonies about the current working conditions with the F&B. Rosa Marlen spoke of instances where her and her co-workers were being prosecuted for having union ties. One example that Rosa Marlen included was her own struggle for safety, as she has been targeted as one of the union leaders. As a result of this, she is constantly followed and has to change her routes from work to home. Her position as a leader has given her much oversight over the conditions of her fellow colleagues. Having to bear witness to the horrible abuses against her co-workers, she has attempted to do what is correct. This includes reporting to local authorities, labor ministry, FLA, and higher management. None have listened to her demands and concerns. She broke into tears trying to explain her co-worker's public being as her head was slammed into the industrial sewing machine while 2 men pushed her down. this beating came as a result of her not complying to the management's demands. Rosa Marlene asked the management why this had happened, and the response was that they had every reason to do it. Although Rosa Marlene was able to get an FLA investigation, it proved to be ineffective and unproductive. The many deep-rooted issues were ignored, and fear still remains to be a battle Rosa Marlene, her timid co-worker Rosa Evangelina, and the workers at F&D deal with every day. They talked about the working conditions they face producing Cowboys apparel, outrageous quotas, contaminated drinking water, and physical violence for organizing. All this for a mere $40 a week. When they began organizing union companies, like the Dallas Cowboys began pulling orders, refusing to do business with a unionized factory. This strategy of cutting and running leaves workers without jobs, punishing them for standing up for their rights. The managers at Apple Tree told all the workers that this was their fault, that their children would go hungry because they were forming a union. They were interviewed and asked to take a photo with them, but they explained that at Apple Tree, in order to prevent union organizing, the managers will pay gangs to follow them home, break up actions by throwing stones, and even dragging women to the bathrooms to beat them up.
So we are the Cornell Sweatfree Coalition, and we're here to demand a meeting with Gordon, who's not here right now. So we hope to meet with him to discuss why we're not participating from the FLA, given the letter from Art Van Heerden, difficult name to pronounce. So we're going to sit here for 2 hours in solidarity with the 200 workers who threatened to kill themselves as a response to Foxconn's labor practices. So we're here to sit for 2 hours, and we understand that Gordon isn't here, so we can have that meeting, so we're just going to sit
President
peacefully.
Gordon isn't here, and I am the university executive, whatever that might mean to you. I'm also Cornell's Dean of Students. As you know, I'm Cornell's Principal Student Advocate. So I guess I need to tell you that you can't disrupt the university's business. And I understand it that you're supposed to only have as many people in here as there are seats, right, Lisa?
That's right.
So I would invite you to go to
163 is
Day
available until 4:30 if you want to come down tomorrow.
and then sit in the building. Once it's closed, you're obliged to leave. So that's where we are currently.
Yeah, we're just here waiting until we solidify an appointment time for the end of the semester. But in the meantime, we're going to sit here for 2 hours in solidarity.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we respect the closing time of the building, that will be respected. So,
Oh, okay.
Casey?
I would say that 163 is available. I would prefer that if you leave enough people here as there are seats, and if we can go down to 163, I was told you wanted to talk to me as well. So that would work great.
We will be staying here, I think, as a consensus decision by our group to sit in support of the 200 Foxconn workers.
Right.
And we really appreciate you guys coming out.
Yep, and I'll be here with you.
Great, thank you so much. Awesome.
Yeah, so that you can listen to some of the worker testimonies.
Fair enough.
That's great. Thank you.
Thanks so much for spending your day with us. This is transcribing a worker testimony from the PT Key Zone factory. Saida, who's 55 and is a screen printer in PT Key Zone. Have we heard her testimony yet? No? Okay. This is her testimony, which has been translated. All of the companies they are supposed to, they should be ashamed of each other. They should be responsible. Reebok, Nike, Adidas, they have taken responsibility and be ashamed of the companies, and she's referring to the subcontractors. It just doesn't make any sense if they abandon their workers just like that. It's just a shame. Such a shame. I just hope I will get some sort of compensation immediately so that I can pay my son's tuition. And if there's any remnant, I could use it as the working capital for running a little-scaled private enterprise. But if there isn't any, I'm just going to use it for paying my son's school tuition so that he could be able to take the national examination. And then, now, Keyzone has to shut the factories down. I hope the companies like Reebok are responsible and they ought to know that the elderly like me can't go anywhere. I'm so confused now. I really hope the elderly could get a severance pay more than the younger people upon thinking about the age difference. I'm Saida. This is my son, Ismarto. He wants to attend national examination. We haven't got any money. We need money for taking that examination. I need those who are in charge to take responsibility so he could take the examination, so he could be successful. I really want him to finish his study, to become his first in our family, to hold a school certificate, and to be a successful person so that he can take care of his mother and his mother's aspiration to make the pilgrimage to Mecca to become a bishop.